What's up, everyone? Welcome to another week of What You're Missing. There may be a little bit of noise coming from Ella here because she's been in her crate a little bit of the day. I went to see Interstellar, but that's neither here nor there. I've got some news bits to throw out at you and to discuss with you. So I'm just going to jump right in like I do every week instead of talking about this sweet monster right here. Um, we've talked about in the past how this one developer who sent death threats to Gabe Newell after Steam made a mistake labeling his game as early access instead of actually released. Um, so this guy's back in the news for returning to his studio. So first he sent death threats over Twitter to Gabe because he, had a petulant outburst and had no impulse control. And then after that, he apologized profusely because he realized once Valve completely cut his game out of their market that he had been a petulant jerk, and tried to apologize and to get things back the way they were so that he didn't completely screw over his studio, which he is a co-founder of. That didn't work, which it shouldn't, really, honestly. I don't think. It's good to have examples of what happens when you behave poorly. And then he decided he was going to quit the studio. I don't know if I just said that, but the latest update is that now he's decided he's going to rejoin. And I got to say, the snippets from this article are really fantastic. So this is how it reads. Mike couldn't commit to his decision to lead Code Avarice, the studio said in a blog post. He'd planned to sell his half of the studio to co-founder Travis Fenning, but had never discussed that plan or his intention to leave before posting his intention to do so on the studio's website. There you go, mark of professionalism. They go on. Looking for a new source of income was extremely overwhelming, and when it finally came time to put pen to paper, Mike and Travis agreed the best thing to do would be to have Mike return to Code Avarice, the statement said. In retrospect, we should have waited until everything was finalized before making the announcement, but Mike was extremely eager to just get out and never look back. That's because Mike is a petulant child. That's all I have to say about that. So, yeah. If you listen to the Beyond podcast and you hear Mr. Moriarty talking a lot about, and Greg Miller, talking about how people should be allowed to change their PSN names, it's this ongoing joke. And to punctuate that, I played in a strike this last week with a guy named Queen La Quiefa, and that guy is forever branded as Queen La Quiefa until hopefully he's matured and now thinks that is a stupid thing to say, because, or at least a stupid thing to have as your name, because in a raid with him, we all had to keep saying, "Hey, Queen," or La Quiefa, and it's very hard to take anyone seriously named Queen La Quiefa. So anyway, Sony executive Sean Layden came out and made a comment on one of the reasons why, I assume this is not the only reason, why they don't allow it even as a paid service. And he says, we don't want to make it so that you can go in, grief a bunch of people in Far Cry, change your avatar, change your username, go into Call of Duty and grief everyone over there. We want to stop that. So that's laudable, and it's nice to know that Sony cares about griefing and online harassment. So, okay, but there's got to be a better way than letting people like Queen La Quiefa run around. I don't know. I got nothing for you. So, moving on. I told you earlier that Sweden came out and denounced all of the actions of Gamergate and online harassment and that sort of hate speech that was going on. And as a follow-up to that, or on the heels of that, they came out and they said they wanted to, and they're trying to come up with ideas for ways to show their consumers that certain games promote gender equality. And so it says, of course, basically there's this really great quote that I want to read to you. There are a lot of quotes today. I apologize. But I thought that whoever phrased this did so very well. So it goes as follows. Of course, games can be about fantasy, but they can be so much more than this. They can also be a form of cultural expression, reflecting society or the society we are hoping for. Games can help us to create more diverse workplaces and can even change the way we think about things. And I think that's true, and that's one of the reasons why I really love games and gaming. So I I think it's really cool that Sweden is as vocal and as active in attempting to, maybe that's not the best way to do it, right? Maybe having certifications or labels on games isn't the best way to do it, but at least they're having that discussion, and at least they're trying to be very active and proactive in promoting gender equality. So good for you, Sweden, and let's hope that the rest of the world can follow in your footsteps. Lastly, again, things that you hear people in the game media or journalism world talking about is the embargo release dates for video games and their reviews. And so some games are allowed to write, or some journalism sites for some games are allowed to write and publish their reviews of the game before the game is launched. And generally, if they are allowed to do that, the game is very polished, much like Dragon Age Inquisition, and it ends up doing very well. Unfortunately, a lot of times when those embargoes are held until the last minute, or even after the release has come and gone of the game itself, like was the case for Assassin's Creed Unity, the game is in a very poor state. And if people had known about the state that it was in and how broken it was, they wouldn't have bought it. And so it's worth. It was an interesting article on Polygon talking about sort of these embargo dates and how they're doing a disservice to the industry and the consumer at large, just because people need to know what they are getting themselves into when they purchase a game, and being an informed consumer allows them to put their money where they want it to be, right? And so if people had known how broken and flawed Assassin's Creed Unity was going to be, they maybe would not have spent their money there, and maybe they would have spent it on, as an example, Dragon Age Inquisition, because that was such a polished game. So yeah, just food for thought. So I'm going to leave you there, but I want to tell you a little bit about something I'm going to do tomorrow. Now, tomorrow and on Tuesdays, usually I talk about the games that I've been playing, and as you well know, I have been playing a ton of Destiny, and I've noticed a few things that I haven't read anywhere, and I want to share with you little details about the game. I'm going to try to get it under 15 minutes, and I'm going to try to use the PS4 stream to like upload a video clip of what I've done, and I'll just be like sort of narrating as I run around in the game, showing you what I've learned and talking about some of the things that that may help you in your search. So tune in for that. Tell your friends. This is, again, I think it's pretty cool. Something that I've discovered, and I want to share it with you, and I want you to benefit from it as well. So I will see you tomorrow. If you haven't done it yet, hit the subscribe button and hit the plus button, because, you know, I like getting thumbs up. Who doesn't like the virtual gold star? Everybody does. That's what Twitter's all about, right? You get gold stars. Anyway, so I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great week.